Hello guys and welcome to an episode of GEEKAMANIA. I'm your host Mark Sylvester, and in today's episode I'll be talking to you about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As you may or may not know, the Team Ninja Turtles was created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird back in 1984, and they were named after the four famous Renaissance painters. There was Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo and Raphael, and they were trained, depending on what you either read or you watch, they were trained by Splinter, who was either Hamato Yoshi's pet rat, or was Hamato Yoshi himself who was mutated. And they will also had a friend of theirs, April O'Neil, who was either, depending as well, a reporter or a scientist. And then you had their other friend, Casey Jones, who was a vigilante. And then they fought against the evil Shredder, who was the head of the Foot Clan. And he either had, depending on what you read or watch, that his allies were either Krang, people from Rocksteady in the original cartoon, or you had people like Han and Karate Split Elite in the other mediums, like the Mirage comics and the 2003 cartoon. And then came in 1987, you had the very famous TMNT cartoon, which as you can see right there, which then basically turned the Turtles into the worldwide phenomenons that basically at the time you couldn't find anything that wasn't Ninja Turtles. Like you had stuff like the video games, the toys, the pajamas, the cereal, board games, lunch boxes, basically anything that you can think of was basically something to do with the Ninja Turtles. It would probably be very hard to find at the time something that wasn't Ninja Turtles. And then you had back in 1990, 1991, 1993, you had the three live action films, which were these three. And the first two films, which were designed, the suits and the puppetry and stuff, was done by Jim Henson, who you may or may not know also did The Muppets and Sesame Street, very famous. And then came in 1997, you had the quite terrible, depending on who you speak to, the Next Mutation series, which brought in Venus de Milo, which then also at the same time they had a crossover episode with the Power Rangers in space. And then came in 2003, you had the second series, which Peter Laird, who at the time separated more from Kevin Eastman to do the Turtles, was his own series, which was heavily more based on the Mirage comics, where it had stories from the original comics, which were basically to do with Leonardo getting attacked, how they first met the Shredder, City at War, the fight when they had to go back to Casey's barn, which had to do with the attacking of Leonardo, because in the movie that was based on the Mirage comics, but also had hints of the cartoon, but it changed it around. For rather than being Leonardo, it was Donatello who was Raphael, sorry, that was the one that was attacked. And then basically then in 2009 you had the very awesome Turtles Forever film, which basically crossed over the original Turtles from 1984 series, the original Turtles from 1987 series, and the 2003 Turtles. And that was a really cool film, loved it. You can still watch it today, I think it's hilarious and awesome, and it's just so cool to have all the Turtles cross with each other. I think it's really epic. And then you had in 2009 as well, Peter Laird sold the Turtles and Mirage and everything else to Viacom, who was the people who ran Nickelodeon, basically. And then a couple of years later on, with Nickelodeon's permission, IDW then started up its own series of comics, which Kevin Eastman was actually part of. When the co-creator of the Ninja Turtles did the comics, which was based off hints to do with the original series, Mirage stuff, the Archie comics, which the 87 series I forgot to mention, sorry, had comics based on that series, which Archie did. And then you had stuff based on the 2003 series of stuff as well, but it's mostly seems to be like a mix of all three, like you've had in the series so far. You've had Krang in the new comics, and people from Rocksteady are going to be appearing in it soon, and you've had people like Slash come in and Meta and that sort of thing. And then in 2012, Nickelodeon then started the new TMNT series, which had people like Rob Paulson coming back to play as Donatello, who came back to play the Turtle, who was originally Raphael, who's now playing Donatello. And then you had people like, for example, Greg Sipes, who was known as Beast Boys in Teen Titans, in Teen Titans, is now Michelangelo. Sean Astle, who was basically Samuel in the Lord of the Rings series, is now Raphael. And you have Jason Biggs, who's very famous for the series of the American Pie films, is now Leonardo. Yeah, so that's a little history about the Turtles, basically. There's loads more about the history, but I thought I'd give you a little tidbit. Basically, and then, the way I first, and then I'm going to tell you guys how I first started watching the Turtles. Well, the first reason I first started watching the Turtles was A, back in 1989, and B, my brother was a fan of the Turtles at the same time as well. Like, we had the toys and some of the videotapes. The videotapes we had were The Night of the Killer Pizzas, The Return of Technodrome, and The Invasion of the Punk Frogs. I got to watch that and then really started to like it, and then like loved it. And then like even now I still watch it, and then still watch the series today. And then I went to a comic book shop in Canterbury, Whatever Comics, great shop if you live in Canterbury back in England, definitely go there. Where they had a lot of the Ninja Turtle comics, so I got to read some of the Mirage stuff, and I was like really shocked just how much different they were, and just how much and how like cool they were, and just how different the Turtles were and that sort of thing, right? Because I've been so used to them being like these goofball kind of wisecracking but also awesome characters that I was able to gravitate towards them being kind of more serious. But then also love the fact about the Turtles as well. What got into them is how they're four distinctive characters. They're not just the same old. Like you have Leonardo, who's a serious type. Michelangelo's a fun-loving guy. Donatello's basically the brains of the outfit, and you have Raphael, who's the hothead. And I just love the fact that each of the Turtles is basically different. And then, basically, yeah, that's how I got into them. And then my favourite Ninja Turtle was Leonardo, obviously, because A, being autistic, my favourite colour is blue. Like, for example, my favourite football team of all time is Chelsea Football Club. They were blue, and I had a guy called Mark. And there's basically anything that was blue, a character that had blue on them, they were automatically my favourite. And then also watching the series a lot more, and then also reading the comics and the new series and that sort of thing, I got to like Leonardo even more because he's I feel he's a lot like me. The fact is love my family to bits, like my mum and my brother and my grandparents and my aunt and my dad, and that lot mean the world to me, and my sisters, obviously, my nieces. And then you had people, and then he was like, does martial arts, because I'm a karate brown belt. And then you had the fact as, he's quite serious, he's a leader, which in a sense, I feel like in a sense I'm kind of like the leader of GEEKAMANIA, if you know what I mean? Not starting to sound big-headed, but I'm the one who kind of organises us to meet up, and the guy who edits all the videos and stuff, and that's how I feel I'm kind of close and in connection to Leonardo, and he's cool, and also his weapons are awesome, and the fact he's blue as well kind of did him over the edge for me. And yeah, that's why I love Leonardo. I think he's an awesome character. And one of my favourite moments of Ninja Turtles probably would either be watching the first film, because I never saw it at the cinemas. I watched it years later on when I got the VHS at a boot fair with my mum. Best £3 I ever spent. And watching the first one was like, oh, it was so good. And also watching the original series back first time, and also hearing the theme tune. Well, even nowadays I can listen to that theme tune just for hours and then because it's so iconic. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell, Total Power. Just how iconic and just how awesome that song is, and just how just in general, just the Turtles are just awesome, and even the animation to the cartoon was really good, and even the fact is, even though there was a lot of mistakes, it was still quite funny to see how many mistakes like the episodes were making stuff in the original series. I thought it was quite funny. And then you had the Turtles Forever, which came out, and then first reading the original comic book of Mirage, which you had the story of how they became the Turtles, and how it was actually kind of a homage and a parody in a sense to the Daredevil, where the mutagen was basically the mutagen that Daredevil, not when he was trying to save the kid, I think it was, and it went into the sewers. That was the mutagen. And the fact where in Thingy-Majig, they were known as the Hand, I think, in Daredevil, but in the Ninja Turtles it's known as the Foot Clan, so that's kind of like that homage as well. And the fact it became one of the biggest things in the world, which I thought was quite cool, and the fact is, each of the Turtles I felt like I can connect to, and just how awesome it was to finally, watch it and watch the films and then watch the new series and that sort of thing. And I love the fact as well, a favourite moment of mine is the fact that it's basically back on television. I was just like, that's so cool. And basically, and how I see the Turtles in the future, I honestly don't see it to be as big as it once was. Just because, not that I don't like the Turtles, obviously I do, because, I mention it basically every single GEEKAMANIA episode. There's a running joke that, there's a way, how is he going to mention Ninja Turtles, ha 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 ha. But I love the fact as well that, basically, that even though the Turtles may not be as big as it once was, I don't ever believe anything will be as big as the Ninja Turtles was. Then again, I remember over here in the UK we had Tazos and Pogs, which were quite big. And then you had Pokemon, which was probably maybe as big as the Turtles. Maybe slightly bigger, maybe slightly lower. Then again, I got into Turtles when I was like 2 because I was born in 1987, so basically I'm the same age as the original series. And that's kind of how I got to know the Turtles. And I didn't really experience the Turtles mania as much as I really wanted to, even though I still loved them. Like, I had all the games, I like had load of the toys, I still have load of my like, I have load of DVDs, I still have a couple of my like plushy Leonardo toys and that sort of thing, because Leonardo's awesome. And yeah, and honestly, I don't think it'll be as big as it once was, but at the same time, I hope it will be as big as it. I hope it does become really big again, and I do hope that, kids and adults alike will still love it. And the fact is, you have these parents who were younger when they watched the original series, showing their kids the show, and then you had, like, even nowadays, you had original toys, like, kind of like imaginations of original toys by Playmates, sold in stores, like the classic series, and then you had stuff like the things to do with like the new series. You got toys, and then you got Lego. Like, for example, my friend Richard Young, awesome guy, bought me this, and it's one of my coolest things I have on my keyrings. Leonardo, yeah, Lego Turtles, awesome as hell. And yeah, and then you have, like, as you already know, then you have the comic books and the new games coming out, the new film coming out next year, which I'm not really looking forward to, but I'm still gonna watch it because I'm a Turtles fan, obviously, because I get free tickets, work at cinema, awesome. And yeah, and basically, the Turtles, honestly, hopefully it becomes as big as it once was, but if it doesn't, then at least in my heart it'll always be the greatest thing ever. I was like, yeah, I still love Chelsea Football Club and wrestling and computer games. Football, obviously Chelsea, but the Ninja Turtles will always be probably up there as my all-time favourite. And basically, and what the Turtles mean to me is, as I just said, it's one of my all-time favourite things. I can happily watch it for hours on end. The fact that each of the Turtles is really different, so I was able to connect to different Turtles in different ways, like Leonardo loving his family and quite a serious type. Donatello, because he's a bit of a geek and quite clever, that sort of thing that I am, having 2 honours degree. You have Michelangelo, who loves comic books and that sort of thing. And then you have Raphael, who's probably the least like me, but at the same time I like his humour and his witty one-liners in the original series. That's why I was able to connect with him a bit. And the fact is as well that, it's always been there ever since I was a kid. I've always loved it, and I will probably love it to the day I die. And to show how much I love the Turtles, I want to get a tattoo to do the Turtles. But A, I don't think I'll be able to take the pain, and B, the money. But if I ever did get a tattoo, I'll probably either get basically a bandana around my arm here to do Leonardo, like a blue bandana, so it's Leonardo, or I want to get the CM Punk straight edge fist with the Turtles fist like that with the X, and each of the different colour wristbands. So you got like the blue, orange, purple, and red, like basically my arm, but then have it as like Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael. That's how I always kind of see it, and then. Yeah, and then just basically try to get people into the Turtles as much as I can. Like, I had a friend who I lent some of the comics to, and who really liked the comics, and other people who had never seen the show, so I let them borrow the show, and they ended up watching and liking it. And the films are fantastic, and yeah, I know people might feel like, really? It's one of my favourite films of all time. I still think the first Ninja Turtles film, which got 4 stars from Empire, by the way, which is the big movie magazine over here in the UK, I think it's one of the best films I've ever seen. The animatronics and the puppetry of the Turtles is amazing. The fights is really good. The story is really good. You feel connected to the characters. April's believable. Everything about that film is really, really good, and I love it. And honestly, the Turtles to me will always be up there as one of the greatest things of all time, and the thing that basically, in a sense, will always be there in my heart. Like, even to the day I die, I'll probably still love the Turtles. And I'm hoping as well that the Turtles will be as well remembered in 50 years' time as people like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, or Captain America, or Iron Man, or even these Avengers and DC characters. So, yeah, so overall, Turtles are awesome. If you never read any of the original Mirage comics, or the Archie comics, or the new IDW comics, or you've never watched any of the 87 series, 2003 series, or 2012 series, or you've never seen any of the movies, definitely do. So yeah, So overall, Turtles are awesome. I love you guys, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye!